Welcome to this episode where I'll be sharing the top 10 most gorgeous blue evening gowns that we've seen over the past 5 years at Miss Universe. My name is Dani Walker. Thanks for joining me. If you love content like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications. Let's get into it. In 2018, Costa Rica wore this gorgeous blue off-the-shoulder feather bottom gown. I must say, it made her body look incredible. The tailoring on this gown fitted her to a T. I really liked it. The pop of color was perfect on her. This was a change from her preliminary gown, and I was so happy to see this change. But I do want to share with you this one image that I found online. This is from an Instagram page called Pageants and Carpets, and the creator of this page likes to remix different popular evening gowns that we've seen on the Miss Universe stage, and I have to share with you the re-edit of this gown. Check this out. Just imagine if this version was on the Miss Universe stage. I love it. I just really like the hips of this dress and how it goes from the bodice, almost like a bodysuit, into the sheer form-fitted, hip-hugging style of gown. I just think that this is a perfect remix of this style, and I had to share it because I personally really enjoyed it. Which version do you like more? Do you like the original or do you like the remix? Comment below. In 2019, Mongolia decided to wear this gorgeous blue gown. To me, this is the blue equivalent of a Jessica Rabbit gown, okay? I know it has sleeves, I know it's a little bit different, but the curves that she has in this, it's not just a contestant, it's the gowns that help to accentuate what you already have, and that's what I love about this. I thought it was gorgeous. She was a real standout to me this year for the evening gown competition. When I saw her walk out in this, I thought, you know what, maybe she does make a semifinal this year, who knows? But it was just perfectly tailored to her, and frankly, I would love to wear this gown to an event. Notice the pattern of the beading and the sequence, because that even helps to accentuate curves. It's not just sewn straight down in vertical lines, it's actually contouring her body, and just makes it even better. In 2020, Iceland was mentioned among many people's favorites, among my own too. I noticed her leading up to the competition, and I think that because it was such a competitive year. I mean, the women were outstanding. I just remember them announcing the semifinalists and thinking to myself, there's some good countries that are really going to be left out this year. But this gown, to me, says celebrity. Okay, it says celebrity because of the way that it is fit to her body. It's the waist of it is like molded or corseted or something. And the fabric is beautiful, the neckline modern. I could easily see this on a red carpet, and I know this is a pageant, but I love it for that reason. The thing I would probably adjust about this though is that you can really see whatever is underneath. The bodysuit, shorts, I'm not exactly sure. And I would have just lined it in nude at this point. In 2020, Haiti wore a beautiful cobalt blue evening gown. What gets me about this gown is the beading and sequins that are wrapped around her neck, and then the use of the illusion top to kind of disguise that and make this creation possible, because this wouldn't be possible without that illusion top. And it was just incredible. The one change that I would make to this gown though was the front of the skirt. It sort of would open up and expose the lining of the gown every time she took a step. So if I could make an adjustment somehow, I would change that. Maybe changing the outside shape of the skirt or closing up the slit slightly might have helped with it. I'm not really sure. I'm not a designer. Just a suggestion. This gown to me was meant for competition. I feel like I may get some mixed reviews on this, but you know what? These are my personal favorites, so I am including from 2021 Miss Singapore. This gown was very fun. It's very avant-garde, couture, over the top. I can see it on a runway any day of the week. Now, a couple things about this. I think that she has a really small frame, and when you have such a small frame, a gown with this much volume, especially on the top, can really overwhelm a person. And I think it's important too, if you notice the hand on the waist, that it was straight instead of having that broken wrist. So I much prefer that broken wrist to really accentuate the waist. That's just me being very particular about things. But this color was beautiful on her. It was so vibrant. It really complemented her so well. I feel like this is such a great example of wearing a bright pop of color on stage. I think a lot of contestants are afraid of this, but here it is. Look at how great this looks. The gown was beautiful. I did like the side pose with it because the fabric was really able to frame her. It was a very, very cool effect. So for me, it worked, but I feel like some people may be mixed on this one. This next one might surprise you on this list, and honestly, she surprised me too, but we're going to include her anyways. In 2021, Italy wore a sheer gown, which was mainly blue, so that is why she is included here. She was somebody that I noticed leading up to the preliminary competition, and I had really high hopes for her, and I thought, maybe she could place. I think this gown was beautiful on her, and honestly, it made this list because, as you can see, it's a great gown. It's a great competition gown, but it is something that is similar to other gown styles we've seen in the past. I think that it is a safe style, but regardless of being safe, I thought that it worked really well on her. So I was like, you know what, whatever, she's gonna make this list, because as I was reviewing the last 5 years of gowns, it was actually kind of hard for me to narrow down my top favorites, because there were quite a few dresses that were also like this that were mainly sheer or maybe gold or silver that only had touches of blue. So I was like, you know what, there's quite a few of those gowns. This one is gonna make the list, and I hope it's been one of your favorites too. If you're new here and you haven't already heard about my free pageant prep course and you're a contestant that's preparing for your next competition, check it out in the description below. In 2021, right after Italy, was Jamaica, and oh my goodness, this gown color was perfect on her. I have to say, you can see a sort of red tone in her hair, and it's just like how when redheads, like really, really bright, vibrant redheads, will wear greens or blues that it stands out on them. So it also works here, where if you have a red tone in your hair, it can really pop and stand out and be complimentary. And I love this. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's perfect. It's beautiful on her. The stoning, the shape. What really gets me here though are the straps. Gosh, I am such a fan of anything that has some sort of raw edge, things that aren't just a simple strap, stuff that has a little bit more intricacy to it, a little bit more detail, because I see those types of styles more in couture because it's harder to make, right? It's more difficult to make, and things like laces are more expensive to produce that have these really beautiful raw edges and shapes, and this gown has this, and this dress, the way that it fit her body as well, was perfect. As you can see, it is sheer, but it was the right amount of sheer. It wasn't so sheer that the bodysuit or whatever they lined it with underneath became very obvious. And I think that we've seen this trend of sheer gowns with bodysuits, but sometimes the bodysuits can become really distracting and I think take away from the elegance of the gown. The fabric that they used to create this dress was perfect. It was the right shade so that it wasn't too sheer, but just sheer enough to make it a little bit sexier. Many would say that the queen I'm about to mention was robbed at the Miss Universe 2020 competition. I think that most people expected to see her in a semifinal, but I've talked about this before. Sometimes big sash factor countries get left out of that semifinal. There is really no guarantee. So with no further ado, let's talk about Miss South Africa 2020 in this beautiful blue gown. So this is a really unique color. First of all, it's velvet. So when I saw this in some lighting, it has more of a green tone, but I'm going to include it in the blues because I'm pretty positive it's closer to the blue family than it would be to green. This creation, gorgeous. When I saw it, it really surprised me though, because I thought that this gown would have been perfect for a photo shoot, a red carpet appearance. It's not a style I would have suggested for a contestant to wear for competition, especially for Miss Universe preliminaries. For me, the gloves were risky. But I will say that what is this gown without the gloves though, right? Like imagine this dress without the gloves, and I don't feel like it would be quite as special as it is. And I really like that these gloves also had rhinestones to match and to complement the stoned bodice of the gown. The other thing that I like is the structure of this bodice, and that it has a sheer panel in the back that is dipping, and then the fact that we have a mixture of stones in a multitude of colors. I think it's a really, really nice touch. It makes the gown unique and original and gives it its own style instead of just stoning it in one solid color. It really, really added to the unique and couture quality of this gown. And the way that this fit her, oh my gosh, so sexy. Such a memorable gown. South Africa was one of my personal favorites. I did a recap of her national pageant. If you guys want to see how amazing she was at her national pageant, go check that one out. There is no way that Miss Universe Thailand 2020 was not making this list. This blue gown that was like the ocean was incredible to me. Absolutely incredible. So this is the same evening gown designer that designed her national gown. And what was interesting is her preliminary gown was gold. It was very, very different from this, very different from anything that we've seen her in. And then for finals, she wore this beautiful blue gown that to me was very reminiscent in shape and in silhouette of her national winning gown. So, you know, sometimes that works, going with something that is familiar that you know is going to look great on you. And I personally just loved this gown. The idea of the waves and that she is a beach girl in Thailand. She's definitely an island girl. So I just thought that that personal touch was really, really nice. And it was very, very well executed. I feel that whenever you do ombre styles, it's so hard to get these colors to blend. And they did such a great job with that. Make sure to comment and let me know who wore your favorite blue evening gown. Coming in at my number one spot is another Miss Universe Thailand from the year 2017. First of all, I love Maria. She was one of my top picks that year, okay? Absolutely love her. Second of all, though, this navy evening gown is so unique. Think about this, though. How often do we see navy blue evening gowns? Not often, right? And how often do we see navy blue evening gowns that are done this well? I feel that it's often hard to really rock a navy blue gown. You might as well just wear black at that point on stage. The navy blue really softened things up. We also want to consider that her hair is quite dark and she is more fair, so I could understand maybe avoiding that harsher contrast of using a black fabric. Navy blue is also my favorite color, so there's the bias on that. But here we're seeing once again these really, really beautiful beading patterns all over this gown. They look very high end. This is not something that we're seeing on your everyday run-of-the-mill pageant dress that you're gonna buy off the rack. So that was a really nice element. But the bodice was very unique. The way that the front bust was just draped and fell over the shoulders in the back, and then it was open. And then we have these cascading pieces of sheer tulle that were also beaded. Oh my gosh, she didn't go with a typical chiffon. And they also didn't just continue the more structured fabric that the bodice was made out of onto this gown. So that tulle was another thing that helped to soften this look and also allows light to flow through it and make it a little bit lighter on stage. Everything here just came together so well, and this is one of those gowns where I look at it and I'm like, when are we gonna really see something like this again that was this unique and this well done, even with the color that's really hard to get right. That's it for blue evening gowns, but if you really enjoyed this episode, then I think you're also gonna enjoy the episode about yellow evening gowns, because quite frankly, yellow evening gowns are rare, but when we see them, I think that they're some of the most beautiful to grace the Miss Universe stage. So don't forget to check out that episode.